Hi, my name is Randy Wilkins. I'm a technical consultant focusing on sterilizing filtration processes. This is the first of a series of short presentations on design considerations for the sterile filter component of final fill systems. The objective is to introduce the risks and benefits of various process design options to help you make sound decisions about sterile filtration selection, implementation, and operation. We will start by thinking about the number of filters in the system and the risks and benefits of single stage versus dual stage versus redundant filter options. To my knowledge, use of redundant filters is not specifically a regulatory requirement. However, both US and EU guidance state that redundant filtration be considered, so a clear understanding of the risks and benefits is important. There are a variety of final filter setups in use, and it's important to note that there is no right or wrong answer. All the system designs we will consider are capable of producing safe injectable drug, and all are in use somewhere today. Using a single-stage final filter has the advantage of minimum hold-up volume, minimum flushing requirements, ease of handling and operation, and the lowest filter costs. But there is the risk of having to scrap the batch in the unlikely event of filter failure. Controlling the final filter feed bioburden is another important consideration. Understanding the bioburden and process capabilities are really what's most critical, but in addition, European regulatory guidance uses the example of 10 CFU per 100 milliliter, which has been interpreted to be a requirement. Using a sterilizing grade filter just upstream of the final filter is one way to assure the feed bioburden is low, although obviously this should not be the only control point. But in any event, single-stage systems do not include this control point. The last consideration is the risk of final filter plugging. And typically, final filter plugging is not common in final filling processes, but if the filter plugs, it can be a very big problem, as it may require a total restart of the process. The second option I call dual filter systems. That is, two filters are used in series, but only the second filter is relied on for product sterilization. The upstream filter has the benefits of providing pre-filtration to guard against final filter plugging or to help control final filter feed bioburden. The risks are there's no backup in the event the primary filter fails, as well as higher holdup volume, higher filter costs, and higher system complexity as compared to single-stage systems. The third option is true redundant filtration, where either filter is expected to provide sterile filtrate. The system has the advantage of dual-stage systems for bioburden control and plugging mitigation, plus the potential for batch recovery in the unlikely event the primary filter fails post-use integrity testing. Hold-up losses and filter costs are higher than single-stage, and system complexity is higher than dual-stage, as it will be critical to maintain sterility between the two filters. Here are some of the main points that could be included in the risk-benefit assessment. Product value factors into routine holdup losses, but also the batch value if the batch must be scrapped. Batch scrap is less of a risk in tank-to-tank transfers where reprocessing is validated, but generally it's very difficult or impossible to reprocess if the product has been filled into final containers. You should consider the integrity test failure history. How often would you have to rely on the backup filter for batch release? In most cases, it is extremely rare to have loss of filter integrity. Consider your internal quality or regulatory affairs perspective relative to guidance for redundant filtration and/or feed bioburden limits of 10 CFU per 100 ml. It is not uncommon to find the perspective that these are firm requirements. Finally, consider the day-to-day operations and handling. The more complex the system, the greater the risk for operator error. This is not to say that redundant systems can't be managed. They can be managed, and in fact, it's really not that difficult. As I mentioned earlier, hundreds of these processes will be successfully operated every day. But the more complex the system, the greater the need for good design and attention to operating details. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me.